Time for report cards where our guys give their grades for the various sides of the ball. We begin with the offense. Bart, what grade are you giving the offense?
I gave him a C+. I thought Flacco was efficient. The ball went where the defense dictated it. There's a lot of drops. That's not on Flacco. That's also not on the play calling. I thought they had opportunities. They just couldn't, like Flacco said, stack plays together so that they can move the ball down the field to keep the drive going. And, they started in bad field position to begin with, so they had to march 80 yards, 70 yards, and that's just not a recipe for success.
Chad?
I did the same thing. And the fun part about this is we don't get to see each other's grades, so I like the fact that we had both the same grade. I thought Flacco did a good job. I think he actually did exactly what Bart and I thought he would do, which would bring sort of a presence to the offense. You saw that ball come out a lot faster, which I thought was really good. Get the ball to the playmakers. But then you did see those major drops, those non-conversions on third and shorts, which were big deals, and the drops were big deals. And then, of course, some sort of brain fart plays where they come out after a sudden change and they get a penalty. So those things, if you can clean those up, suddenly this offense, if it can sustain drives, keeps that defense off, keeps Kyler Murray off, and suddenly this game is not as far away as you think. So I thought it was good, but not great.
All right, let's get to the defensive side of the ball. Bart, what grade are you giving the defense?
I gave the defense a C-. I think, their ability to get off the field on third down, giving up explosive plays, allowing an offense to almost hang 500 yards, on you. But I thought at times they won first and second down. They just weren't great in the situational football time. When it's time to be winning and it's time to understand what's going on. One of the indications right before the half, understanding that the receiver has to get out of bounds. So if I know that I have DeAndre Hopkins, I'm going to play with my back to the sideline so that I tackle him in bounds in 8 seconds, no timeouts. Time expires, no harm, no foul. You watched, and we were talking about it as it was going on. Avery Williamson, when you mug up, as a linebacker, up into the line of scrimmage and it's empty, the ball's coming out. So, he's going to understand one side, the linebacker's responsible for the carrying of the vertical. And, Avery Williamson didn't understand that you have to carry that. And it's not the first window sometimes, but quarterbacks have secondary windows. So you never want to disguise yourself away from being able to do your job. And it was those situational times in which I feel the Jets let themselves down just because of lack of awareness, a lack of football acumen.
Chad?
I did the same thing, C-. I thought that actually the defense, one, the tackling was, I felt, a lot better than it was in the past. Two, they got a turnover. Much like last week, they got 3 turnovers. They got another turnover and helped the offense get into short yards in order to score. I think one of the things you're going to start to see happen is when you've got a lot of changing parts, is communication breaks down. That happened today where there was a blitz where Marcus May came up the gut because he thought his guy was staying in the block. And he did initially, which changes the protection, the coverage from May covering the guy to the defensive end covering the guy. And when May went, the defensive end should have covered him. He slipped out. They threw him the ball. Big play. Things like that. Those are going to be the things that they need to talk to each other. And when you get really good at defense, you don't even need to talk. You can just look at each other and you know what's coming. And I think the defense hasn't quite gotten to that level yet.
No, listen, the one thing they didn't do that worked out, no personal fouls. So
no personal fouls, which is great.
Relatively clean game, right?
Yeah, they have discipline.
Offense either.
Right, discipline was much better. Special teams, Bart, what grade do you give the special teams?
I gave special teams a C. I gave special teams a C because, I just changed it in my head. I gave them a C, damn it. I say C. The fans can't see the screen.
Oh, they took the plus off.
They took the plus off.
That's agile control rule.
Yeah, I gave him a C because, listen, what I don't like is when Berrios is afraid to catch the ball. And, you hear
Chad did the same thing,
too.
You
hear Chad talk about the hidden yardage all the time. That's the hidden yardage. That's the difference between maybe net 5, net 10, or maybe losing, 20 yards or 15 yards just in field position, allowing the ball to bounce on the turf. That's a fast turf. You catch that ball, you field it, understanding that it's kickoff, not punt, and you get that, and that's a net of 20 yards. That makes big difference, right? That's the difference between being right outside of field goal range and punting or being inside of field goal range and being able to put 3 points on the board. C.
Chad?
Plus.
I actually went a little higher. I went to B only because I see B as they didn't do anything great.
You got losers fatigue, man.
I know, but they didn't do anything great. They didn't do anything bad. There was maybe a couple of things they could have sharpened up here and there, but overall, and this is actually, I find, the most disappointing part of this team is the special teams in any week this year really hasn't taken over the game. They haven't exerted themselves. And when you have this many guys on the field who, let's call them special teams players, you should be good at special teams. Their special teams should be a unit that goes out there and that dominates, and I don't see that.
All right, let's get to the coaching staff. Bart, what grade are you giving the coaching staff?
Yeah, the coaching staff a C+. They said at some point these players got to take ownership to why the product is so bad. When you have as many drops as you've had, if you had as many communication breakdowns, if you've had as many, bad tackling games, not understanding, guys walking into the end zone untouched, at some point that becomes on the players because there's no magical play. Any play can be defeated if you execute it, no matter what defense you're in, no matter what offensive play call you're in. You can do that by executing. And when I see a team that's not executing, not communicating at a high level, and not making big plays when they present themselves, you can't put that on the coaches. The players got to take ownership and look themselves in the mirror and say, hey, am I going to dare to be great? Am I going to use this opportunity with all these starters out to say, when these starters come back, I've earned the right to still get a piece, get an opportunity, get a chance? Because, listen, I could be a hidden gem. I don't know. I'm sitting right here. I was a hidden gem. I was an undrafted free agent. I got my opportunity. I took advantage of it.
Chad?
B, I gave him a B-, and I'll echo that in the saying that, look, it's like being a helicopter parent where you're trying to joystick your kid to do everything. At some point, you got to take the hands off, and the kid's got to do it on his own or her own. The players, and you heard Flacco say it, the players need to talk to each other. The leaders of this team and the veterans of this team.
Who are they?
Well, I don't know. That's the problem. They need to start talking to each other and saying, hey, look, we can only be lined up so many ways. We can only be given so many chances. Well, we got to step up. And when I was playing with the 95 and 96 team, by halfway through the season, guys were sending their cars home because they knew the season was over and it was awful. So you need to have these leaders like a Flacco and like others who have been there, may have not gone through something like this, but understand this isn't the coach's fault necessarily. They've got to step up and make the plays. And if that means they got to stay extra long, then you stay extra long. If that means they got to do an extra Zoom call, then you do an extra Zoom call. Or you come in early, you stay later. That's the price that you pay. That's the difference between the great teams and the good teams.